Everybody. Hope you're doing great today. For those who may not have attended yesterday and are just attending today, I'm Jennifer Baker, she, her pronouns, Senior Program Manager at Narrative Initiative. I am a Black woman with a light teal t-shirt, dark medium brown skin, and afro. I'm wearing glasses, and I have a bunch of bookshelves behind me. I'm speaking to you today from Canarsie and Munsee Lenape land in Queens, New York City. As mentioned, today marks day 2 of the Changemaker Authors Conference, and thanks to everyone who joined us yesterday and again today. We're starting out with a presentation on the Changemaker Authors Cohort, which you can apply to as of now via Narrative Initiative's submittable page, and these links can be found on Narrative Initiative's website as well as Unicorn Authors Club's website. I'm so happy to introduce the phenomenal folks of Unicorn Authors Club who have been instrumental in also planning this in conjunction with Narrative Initiative and who are the stewards of this magnanimous program. And I just can't say enough good things about everybody at Unicorn Authors Club. They've just been wonderful to work with. So you'll hear from the founder of Unicorn Authors Club, Minal Hajratwala, and Director of Coaching and Curriculum of Unicorn Authors Club as well, Raychelle Heath. And I will follow up after they do to speak to the specifics of the application itself. So thanks for joining us today, Minal.
Thank you so much, Jen, and the whole team for making this amazing conference happen. We had a beautiful day yesterday and looking forward to some amazing sessions later today. And so in this session, we are going to just show you all what the Changemaker Authors Cohort is all about. And this particular session is being recorded and will be available also afterwards for those who wish to apply to the program. So welcome to all of you here in the conference and also who might be watching the recording as you prep applications. We're hoping this will be helpful to you. I'll start with my visual description. I'm a brown-skinned person with very short hair, wearing polka dot black and white glasses and purplish kind of lipstick. And I am currently on land that was taken from the Kickapoo people in the Rogue State of Texas. So we could go to the slides. Thank you so much to our tech team over there. So the Changemaker Authors Cohort will run in its second year from later in 2023 to toward the end of 2024. And next slide, we'll talk about the program for a moment. So in year 1, which wrapped up in March 2023, we had 19 beautiful cohort members chosen from an application pool of about 200. And there were 18 projects. So one of those projects was a co-author project, and the rest were one author, one project. And out of those, we had 4 novels, we had 1 graphic novel, we had 3 memoirs, and 10 nonfiction projects. And we were looking at a broad range of themes. So any kinds of social justice, activist, and movement themes are very welcome. And note that the themes of the book don't have to be the themes of your movement activism necessarily, or and some of the books are novels, so they are less heavy in the theme area. Others, like the sort of educational nonfiction and research nonfiction projects, are stronger on the thematic area. But just to give you an idea, we had books that address the carceral system and abolition, racial justice, immigration, disability justice, gender identity, mental illness, being a survivor, community displacement, grief, capitalism. So a really broad range of topics and a broad range of movement backgrounds. And Jen will talk a little bit later about kind of qualifications as well, and what makes you a great Changemaker Authors Cohort candidate. We will also ask you in your application to talk about what you hope to get out of the program. And some of the outcomes from year one were maybe things that might give you some ideas about how to frame your outcomes. So we had folks who completed an entire draft of their book in a year. We had folks who did a book proposal and a writing sample and got their package ready to submit to editors and publishers. We had folks who got that package ready and signed deals with agents. We had folks who made a self-publication plan. So they finished kind of ideating their book, outlining their book, and decided that they wanted to publish themselves for their community. We had folks who actually finished their book proposal, got their agent deal, and also got a book contract. So that's pretty amazing and exciting. And then we had one or two folks who already had a book contract and had a year to meet their publication deadline and used the cohort as a way to support them in the writing process as they completed their book. So those are some of the individual level outcomes that we talked about. Of course, there are larger community outcomes around changing the narratives in these fields and also building community as we're doing here in this amazing conference as well, building a community around folks who are ready and excited to write and publish these kinds of books. So I will pass it over to Ray, who is our Director of Coaching and Curriculum, and who will talk through the timeline on the next slide.
Thank you, Minal. And we can go to the next slide. This is Ray or Raychelle. So our program cycle for 2023 to 2024 actually starts with this conference. So step one is the conference and the prerequisite webinar, which is either this info session, which as Minal mentioned, is recorded and will be available to applicants. And we'll also have a second info session that you'll be hearing about at some point. The next step is to get your application in. Applications are open now, and they will be open until July 1st. And in your application, you'll be telling us about the work that you do and also sharing a writing sample so that we can get an idea of where you are in the writing process with your book. Step 3 is going to be happening in September, and that's when we'll be interviewing our finalists, which is exciting. You'll be doing a 30-minute interview with two staff members that'll be working with the cohort. And then step 4 is getting in there and doing the work during our cohort year, which is going to start on November 1st and end on October 31st. So that's November 1st, 2023 to October 31st, 2024. And during this time, you'll be working towards those outcomes that Minal mentioned, working on your book proposal, synopsis and sample, and the actual writing of your book. So if we move to the next slide, we can see a breakdown of our terms. There will be 3 terms in this cohort year, each 4 months. The first term starts November 1st. It's November to February 2024. Second term is March to June 2024. And the final term is July 2024 to October 2024. And during these terms, we'll be working directly with you to come up with plans and goals for how you want to move through your book writing process. And we'll also be taking some time at the end of each term to assess how you're doing in the program, if you'll be moving on with us, or if you've completed your goals and you'll be moving towards whatever publication process you're working into. And I think that's all for that information. Minal, did I leave anything out? Awesome. So I'm going to pass it to Jen now to talk about the application process.
Thank you, Minal and Raychelle. So I'm going to reiterate what we have all said, which is that the application is available now. The link is going to be available. We will post it in the chat, but also it is where on, like if you were at the Unicorn Authors Club Changemakers page, it is there. It is on Narrative's website, all that good stuff. And we will again repost it in the chat as well. But also if you go to Submittable, if you type in your Google, because I tried it, Narrative Initiative and Submittable, it will pop up if you just want to do the quick and dirty version in that regard. So let's talk about this application. Yes, good times. So the application itself is, we have a few criteria for folks who are getting it, because there is a very, as Minal and Raychelle noted, a kind of very specific aim for the program and who it's helping and the kind of stories we're giving that support to. Everyone's stories are valid, we welcome that, but you might not be right for this program at this time based on the criteria established. This includes if you are basically, the biggest is if you're an individual currently working towards and or have a history in making community change or working in racial and social justice. And this can be a plethora of areas, right? It's not one thing that you can be doing. Like maybe you're an organizer, you're an educator, you're an activist, you're big on the councils, you know, you're a very active parent in PTAs and stuff like that. There are different ways of looking at this, and we don't want to pigeonhole anyone, but it does have to be at the center of your work and also the project that you will be working on. Not be a full-time writer. That is also an aim. We are helping those who may not be writers or who have written, but may not have, you know, established a formal career as a full-time writer. You have to have something in progress, meaning the book is in progress, or a well-developed book idea. Try not to do something slapshot or anything like that just to make the program. If you are earnestly interested in developing an idea that you've had, this is the space that we would love to hear from you. We're going to ask you to actively and regularly commit to your writing online coaching and cohort meetings. So when you go to the Submittable page, you're going to see a description of what we're looking for along with this criteria. And even before you are able to get to the application itself, we'll outline like the kinds of commitments that we will be asking you. And this will be something that comes up over and over again, just to ensure that everyone is on the same page, no pun intended, but also like you're understanding what we're asking and we're able to meet your needs as well. And, you know, so that commitment includes an orientation at the very beginning of November of this year, a 5-day virtual conference and a virtual graduation showcase. We had the one for first year one, March 1st, and it was well attended. It was great energy. It was just wonderful. It's a celebration and of the work as well. So we really want to make this as a compassionate but also productive time for you. Cool. So in this application, as Raychelle noted, we're going to be asking for various elements. This is not a 30-page or a 30-question application. We wanted to be mindful of your time. Also, the most crucial information we would need in the review process, and also how we can engage with each other should you make it to the finalist stage, and you know, we'll do the interview. And that interview will be with 2 people, as again, Raychelle noted. And we'll let folks know, and we'll see if we can do it. And that will be via Zoom. So the application asks for 2 references, not written references, just contact information of someone we can reach out to vouch for you in terms of your work and practice and all that good stuff. A writing sample, up to 10 pages. It doesn't have to be 20, and we will limit that. Short responses to questions about your book and writing practice. So we ask, you know, the general demographic info, like where you're located, because that's important for us to know in terms of planning. And also, again, you should know if an event is going to be 12 p.m. my time, I'm on Eastern Standard Time, then maybe you can't commit to it if that will always be 1 a.m. your time. So there's demographic information for us to know. We will not share any of this information. This is solely for the review process of the program. And so, yeah, I think that's most of it. And we'll also ask you again to confirm that if there's anything you have conflict with or issues with, let us know and all that good stuff. Prior to submitting, the applicants are asked to confirm if they can meet, again, the program requirements. So you'll be asked that again at the top before you even get to the application. And again, you'll be asked at the very end of the application to confirm. Next slide. So we're on the last slide, which is questions. Where do you apply? Well, one place is Narrative Initiative, NARRATIVE.submittable, SUBMITTABLE.com, COM. So that's one place. And also Unicorn Authors Club /Changemakers. So Unicorn Authors /Changemakers, UNICORNAUTHORS.club, CLUB / I think is that / I forget if that's forward or backward. Changemakers, CHANGEMAKERS. How do you attend an info session? Well, attending this one counts, and we ask that on the application if you attended a live one or you attended a recording. So that will be on there, so don't worry about it. You can watch a video of this conference, as we all mentioned, and that'll be available in May. So this video that you are watching right now will be available later this week via narrativeinitiative.org's Changemaker Authors Program link. You can also join an hour-long info session with us on June 1st at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's on 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You will also be able to register for that in May at the same link on Narrative Initiative's website. And we'll also make sure if that link is also available on Unicorn Authors Club to let folks know via our respective newsletters and also follow up. We'll only be sending you one follow-up evaluation after this conference, so we will not be spamming you afterwards. Who do you contact with questions about the cohort? Great question. We have one designated email account that is receiving all of that. That's also for this conference as well. And that is, we got a lot of long emails. Changemakerauthor@narrativeinitiative.org. So that's CHANGEMAKERAUTHOR at narrative, NARRATIVEINITIATIVE.org. No more emails. Okay. So that's the end of the formal presentation, unless Minal and Raychelle have anything else they'd like to add. And we have about 10 minutes before the next session, which is the keynote with Tanais and Sarah Thanka Matthews. So if folks have questions, we're happy to receive them over the next 10 minutes. And if there are no questions, then you'll have a nice break before the next session. And while we wait, we're just going to give it a full minute. I actually forgot to talk about a bit more housekeeping because I was ready to jump into the presentation. So let me recap for all the overall specifics of programming, whether you're returning or you're just joining us today. As you've seen during this presentation, there are ASL and Spanish language interpretation that's available. You'll see, as you've seen, the ASL interpreters box alongside those of speakers for the duration of this conference. Spanish language interpretation and closed captioning are available by choosing either option in your Zoom menu. There'll be 4 hour-long discussions with up to 2 to 4 speakers. You'll see a schedule in the main Zoom room that you kind of logged into from the button from your invitation. And nothing is happening concurrently. Every session starts one after the other. So this will close, and then the next one for the keynote will open, and so on and so forth. Not all sessions have opted to have Q&A periods within this conference, so please keep this in mind. When questions are received, as we're asking for them now, please try to put them in the Q&A option in Zoom rather than the chat. We'll try to keep track of both, but it is helpful to centralize those in one place. Feel free to use the chat to engage with others here, as well as cheer on panelists. We'll aim to be as responsive as possible within the lobby chat between panels, as well as the chat comment space during the panel. You can also email, I lied, onpoint at help, HELP, at onpoint, ONPOINT.PRO. The panelist books are listed on Narrative Initiative's Bookshop affiliate page, and the link is available via Zoom, and a link in our code of conduct as well. Our code of conduct can also be found in the main Zoom room. Please note that we will not be making yesterday or today's recordings available to the public outside of this space. A reminder that only this recording is one we will have available the coming week, as the info session is explained, is a requirement for the application for the program. So I'm going to see if we have questions, but again, if we don't, and if Minal and Raychelle don't have more to add, we'll get into a brief break, and the keynote will start at 1:35 with National Book Award and Aspen Book Prize finalist Sarah Thanka Matthews and Kirkus Book Prize winner Tanais at 1:35.
Thank you, Jen. I am seeing a bunch of questions roll in, so
Wonderful.
we'll handle what we can in this session. We will also send you all an FAQ or post it somewhere publicly so that you'll find it. And then some of these questions will be answered once you dig into the application. You'll see some details. So the deadline is I'll maybe take the logistical ones really quickly. The deadline is July 1st, and the dates specifically and the commitments are all articulated really clearly in the application. So please take a look at that, and that should answer a lot of those questions. I wanted to answer one question about the relationship of one's change-making work to one's writing work, because this is a great question. And this person says, the reason I'm asking is that while my change-making writing project is related to my past movement work, could even be seen as a continuation or extension, it is definitely not at the center of the writing project. So what we're looking for, this is a great question, thank you. We are looking for people who are steeped in the movements and who are organizers, activists, leaders in movements. And then the writing project has a lot of space in it to be whatever it is that you're working on. So we will look at that relationship, but it is not necessary that the change-making work, let's say, is at the center of the writing project. It's more about the person. This program is not for people who are already sort of full swing into being writers and supported in that way already. It's for moving folks from our organizing and social justice space and creating access to the publishing pathways. So I hope that helps with that. And then just to address the kind of competitiveness, obviously we don't know what will happen this year, but last year we had about 200 applications and we accepted 18 projects. This year we are changing the program a little bit, so we will probably look for about 30 finalists, and some of them will be admitted right away on November 1st, and because it is a term system, as Raychelle laid out, it may be that some folks might be on the wait list and be invited in for term 2 or for term 3. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. It's a bit of an experiment, but we are looking for about 15 book projects to start on November 1st of this year.
And I also see a note about it, whether there's a cost, and it is free. The application is free, and there's no cost in the program itself. So you will not be asked for money by either organization at any point in time during this process.
And it's also all online, so including the retreat, which is mid-year. It is 5 consecutive days, so it would require taking some time off. And if you're in an organization, we definitely encourage you to get your organization's support and buy-in for you to be in this process. And but it's all virtual, so you don't have to travel anywhere.
I see a question about time zones and working around those. And I have briefly mentioned that's helpful for us to know, but Minal and Raychelle, can you speak a little bit more to that, how it worked in year 1 for international folks or international to us?
As far as time zones are concerned, we mainly work around Pacific time. So we do have some scheduled events like our craft talks and our co-writing spaces that are team led that are basically working with the US time zone. However, for things like coaching and for peer-led events, those things are decided by whoever's planning them. So if you want to be in a co-writing space, but none of the times that we have available work, you can look for people who may be interested in the time that you need. And for coaching appointments, you set your appointments. However, most of our team of coaches is in the US, so they're working with that time zone. We try to be as flexible as possible, but we do have our limitations as well. For important events, we usually have recordings of those. So if you really can't make it, that will be available. But there are some things that are fixed and that aren't recorded. And we try to work with folks, but we also are working within the US time zone.
I also see two questions that may be really good for Unicorn Authors Club. One is, the one about if we're going to get feedback on the application, we do not have the bandwidth for that, especially if we receive 200 again or even more, which is the hope. So we will not be responding individually to applications. But someone is asking if they don't get into cohort, can they still get this level of support? So
we have a few ways that you can get that kind of support. If you have the capacity to pay or raise money to pay, or get your employer or somebody else to foot the bill, then you're very welcome to the Unicorn Authors Club, which is open to everyone and doesn't have any application process. And it is for authors of color and what we call allies who really mean it. So we do ask that you have there's a certain set of principles that you sign on to when you join, but there's no application process for that. We also occasionally have scholarships, so donor-based scholarships are available from time to time. So since you're here in the conference, you will be on our list, and we'll ask you to opt into that, and then you'll be able to get notices about our scholarships when we have them. And if you are in a position to share a scholarship, then we're always open to that. And all of our scholarships come from individual people donating. Mostly they are writers who have been through the program and want to pay it forward and share from their book contracts or from their other kinds of income where they want to share it out.
Great. And I know you reviewed this. This will be the last question before we go for a brief break. You did explain, Minal, what a full-time writer is, but there are several more questions. So I think, like, if someone's a full-time TV writer or a copywriter, does that count? Do you think?
You know, I think the more important thing is, are you really a movement person? Is the center of your work and your identity and your background around being an organizer, working towards social justice, and being an activist? And so, we have, obviously that takes a lot of forms, and cultural activism is definitely a form of activism. If we were looking at someone who's, say, a full-time writer in a particular industry, then I would want to know, and I think our partners at Narrative Initiative would want to know, okay, you're a copywriter, but are you a copywriter for the movement? Or are you a copywriter as your main gig, but your movement work is what you really do? That's like your day job. You do some writing, that's fine. It's paying your bills, but really, like, your heart is in the movement. I guess that's where, that's the distinction that we've be making. So if you work in television, that's great. And are you involved? Are you organizing people in the industry around a certain set of principles? Or are you, if you're, I would say if you're a person like me, where you feel like you write and your writing is is always informed by your activism, but really writing is your main thing, then I would say probably not. I don't think I would qualify to be a Changemaker author, because I'm really quite solidly in the writing side of things. And then, I try to help movements when I can.
Thank you. I think that clarification really helped because we had a lot of questions that came in around like that. So thank you again, Raychelle and Minal, who you'll both see later today on their respective panels. So I'm really excited for that. And thank you all again for being here. Again, if you have any more questions, we weren't able to get to every question, I apologize. Please email the Changemaker Author at narrativeinitiative.org account, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. We absolutely will. So no question is too weird or small or whatever. Just email us before you even apply if you have a concern. So, well, you'll see me again in 3 minutes. But so thanks, sit tight, and stay tuned for the keynote.